Peace and blessings, family. It's your boy Malik, aka the Black Lotus, and today I am here with another video to talk about how we can build confidence by leaning into discomfort. So this morning I was watching a video of David Goggins, and he was being interviewed by Lewis Howes, and they were talking about how Goggins kind of got his confidence. And so for those of you who don't know David Goggins, I would highly recommend you take a search on YouTube. He's widely known as the world's toughest man. He's done things that are virtually impossible physically and mentally, like running 100 miles in like record time on broken and fractured shins, and like completing the world's toughest training, like from an army perspective, like having like broken bones, and it's actually insane. But he's an incredible person, and he came from like the bottom of the bottom. And so Lewis Howes was asking him, like, how do you build confidence? Like, where does that come from? And what Goggins said was that you build confidence by actually leaning into discomfort, right? As people, we want to do what feels good, right? Why? Because it feels good, right? So you want to actually lean into those type of feelings, right? But when you lean into what feels good, you're actually creating a false reality for yourself. And so the second life actually hits you with a challenge, and you know, life will hit you with that pow, pow, that 1-2 punch. And if the second life hits you with that punch, you're like, boom, you're shook, because you've been coddling yourself this entire time by not actually leaning into your discomfort. And so for Goggins, one of the things that he struggled with from a fear perspective was the fear that he was stupid, the fear that he couldn't learn, right? Because he always carried that self-belief with him ever since he was a kid, due to the environment that he grew up in and people teasing him and really indoctrinating with the belief that he's not worth anything. And so he built his confidence by sitting at the kitchen table for years, teaching himself how to read and how to write, right? He built confidence like knowing that he had a stuttering problem, and he was afraid that if he stuttered, he would still look stupid. And so what did he do? He actually just leaned into it and didn't care that he stuttered, right? And so through that, he actually built his confidence. And so I took that as a moment to reflect on what are the things that I can lean into that make me uncomfortable to help me build my confidence. And that's one thing I want to share with you today. And so the two biggest areas of discomfort that I feel like I have to overcome are, one, the fear of humiliation, and then two, the fear of failure, right? And so I think that it comes from the fact that as a natural born problem solver, and I'm a learner and I'm a creative, so I love making things, I love coming up with ideas. I'm be honest, I love when my ideas are right. I love identifying an opportunity and being able to create something out of it, right? And I like that feeling. And so naturally, when your ego kind of gets wrapped up in that achievement cycle of like, I want to achieve this, I want to create this, right? You become devastated in the moments when you actually fail. And that fear of failure actually holds you back from doing the things that you need to do, right? From actually putting yourself out there, from actually taking risks, all because you're afraid of really failing, right? And so what I thought about was like, okay, well, let's talk about humiliation and failure, right? Because I've actually suffered that. Like, I've been humiliated, I've been bullied, I've been publicly shamed, I've had businesses that have failed, right? And so I'm thinking like, okay, like what would happen if, you know, I put myself out there, I put an idea out there, and it turns out I was wrong, or it turns out people don't agree with my opinion. Well, you know, people maybe say some nasty things about you, right? Like maybe I get canceled because, you know, cancel culture is a thing now. You know, maybe some people don't want to associate with me anymore. But then when you actually think about it, like, that doesn't really impact your life unless you let it, right? Because like other people's opinion of you, it doesn't actually matter, right? Like your opinion of yourself is what creates your reality, right? And so I started thinking, I'm like, okay, well, what would happen if, you know, I get clowned, right? Or I disappoint people. Maybe I start a business and I disappoint some customers, and maybe the business doesn't work out and my idea wasn't what I thought it was. I lose some money. You know, I'm just like, well, you can always just start another business or come up with another idea or try again, can't you? Right? Like, we live in the world of the internet. There's abundance of opportunity. There's an abundance of ideas. Like, as long as you keep coming up with good ideas and keep trying again, one of them will hit. And you only need to be right once for it to really change your life. And so I started thinking, I'm like, well, what if I fail, and what if I, get clowned and I'm not really, doing what I thought I was going to do? And I'm just like, that actually wouldn't matter, because my value is independent of other people's opinion of me. At the end of the day as well, like, even if you do fail, your energy is what people respond to. Like, think about people who have their favorite football teams, right? You have the Detroit Lions, who have like lost games and like have losing seasons for years, but people still ride for them, right? Because like they believe in the person, they believe in the team more than they care about the outcome. And so if you're a person who's living a life of positivity, of intention, of truth, and you try to be a good person and you try to do right by others, like, people are going to still rock with you even when you fail, right? Because they care about you as a person and not about your accomplishments. And if people don't feel that way, then you know that those are not the people that need to be in your life. So I'm just like, okay, wow, energy reigns supreme over anything. So even if you do fail, you can actually turn your failure into a come up. You can turn your failure into lessons, and you can actually share those failures to empower others. Because in the world of the internet, nobody wants to talk about failure anymore. Everybody wants to talk about their highlight reel of like them being so awesome. But like talking openly and authentically about failure and honestly about what that means, that's stuff that people would really connect with. You know what I'm saying? That's stuff that people would really connect with. So that's a big thing. Energy reigns supreme. You can always go again. Like, even if you have an idea, like, you can improve your idea. And you can come up with another idea, right? Just like iterate. Like, iterating is the key. And it's just like your idea not being a success is actually a good thing. It means like, oh, you just need to learn something else. Like, there's a mismatch in the information, right? Like, you have more opportunity to grow because what you thought was reality was not reality. So you need to increase your vibration, increase your frequency, increase your ability to perceive, to figure out what do you actually need to do to be successful. So that's life actually nudging you forward. And then you always learn throughout all of these experiences. Like, even if you are, even if you have an idea that doesn't work out the way you think, you can always learn. So your value is independent of other people. Energy reigns supreme at the other day, and that's what people respond to. You can always go again, and then you can always learn. So like, these things that I thought were making me uncomfortable, these areas of discomfort are actually an opportunity. I actually gained so much by leaning into them. And I know that a lot of people struggle with that as well. So that's a really big deal. Because like, the people's biggest fear is humiliation, right? That's why people are afraid of public speaking, right? So it's like, whoa, you can overcome that just by leaning into it, and you actually become anti-fragile. Because when you fail, when things don't go the way you thought they were gonna go, it actually helps you out. And so you go from being someone who breaks when failure and discomfort comes around to being someone who actually gains from it and actually gets even stronger and tougher and keeps moving forward. That's a come up if I ever heard one. So guys, let's lean into discomfort, all the things that make us uncomfortable. Put yourself out there more, raise your hand, share your ideas. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to mess up, because it's gonna happen, but when it happens, it's actually an opportunity for you to come up even more. And then when you walk around with that energy, you become unstoppable. It's like, if you're not afraid of failure or looking stupid, that's a dangerous person. That's a person who's gonna come up. That's a person who's thinking. That's a person who's thinking. That's a person who's moving different. That's a person who's gonna live a life of intention. That's a person who's about that bag. That's a person who's not even worried about the pettiness, because they're just on a whole different plane. I want to be that person. I am that person. We are that person, if we choose to be. All right, so that's the message for today. As usual, shout out to all my Power Rangers out there. Own your power, manifest your greatness, empower the people around you, and leave no stone unturned. Black Lotus, out.